When you're dealing with the public, you've always got to expect the unexpected. Basically, don't take things for granted. Don't do anything without being prepared first. Backing is something all of us take for granted. You back your own car in and out of your driveway and parking spaces every day. You probably don't even think about it. In fact, you've backed up so many times you can probably do it in your sleep. But don't get caught sleeping. As a Laidlaw transit professional, you're responsible for the safe operation of your bus, and backing one of these babies can be very risky. This program has been designed to show you how to safely back your bus. Use your handouts during this program to take notes. Over 20% of all bus collisions involve backing. And even though these collisions very rarely cause serious destruction or injury, they're costly to our business and disruptive to your schedule. Every backing collision is caused by not paying proper attention to what's going on around you, or by not compensating for the blind spots on your bus. The length, width, and height of our transit buses make it difficult, if not impossible, to see what's behind or beside you, even with your mirrors. If you're a paratransit operator, don't be fooled by the fact that your bus isn't much longer than a van. The extra width of these vehicles hides a lot of what's behind you. That being the case, the safest backing technique is don't. Do everything you can to avoid backing. But when you do have to back up, do it safely by following the guidelines we'll present to you in this program. During your pre-trip inspection, be sure your horn, lights, and warning flashers are working properly. If your bus is equipped with a backup alarm, make sure it works properly as well. If there are problems, report them immediately. Be sure you know where the blind spots are on your bus. This diagram shows the blind spots on a transit bus. This one shows you the blind spots of a paratransit bus. Let's contrast that to the blind spots on an average passenger car. Quite a difference. Remember that other drivers on the road are not professionals, and they probably don't think about their blind spots. It's so important, I'll say it again. Most other drivers do not think about their blind spots. That means you have to watch their blind spots for them. If you can't see the driver of another vehicle in that vehicle's mirrors, you're in one of their blind spots. Keep that in mind, because if they can't see you, they may become a danger to you. So stay out of the blind spots of other vehicles, especially if they're parked near boarding zones. Unfortunately, there's really no way to eliminate blind spots. That makes it your responsibility to minimize these blind spots as much as possible. Check the mirrors on your bus. Be sure they're clean and properly adjusted. Proper mirror adjustment can help reduce the chance of a backing collision. Mirror adjustment is covered in the pre-trip inspection program. By leaning forward or backward, you can use the mirror to cover even more area. The more you can see, the smaller your blind spots become. Your best view is down the driver's side. The passenger side mirror view is not as good because the mirror is farther away. Obviously, there are some drawbacks to mirrors you should be aware of. First, the large flat mirrors provide a lot of visibility down the side of the bus, but they create additional blind spots. On transit buses, the mirrors are positioned high enough that this usually isn't a problem. Paratransit buses are another story, however. A car on the left is backing up. However, the bus operator's view is partially blocked by the flat mirror. This is another good reason to lean backward, forward, and from side to side. You need to see around the mirrors. The second drawback is the convex mirrors that are used on some of our buses. These mirrors are made to give a wider view, but this wide view distorts your depth perception. Things you see in convex mirrors can be very close to your bus, although they appear to be far away. Stop the tape now and review the need for safe backing. Review blind spots and proper mirror use and adjustment. Once again, the goal is not to back up, but if you do have to back up, do it safely and use backing reference points. Backing reference points are imaginary points on your vehicle to help you determine how close things are to the back of your bus. Sometimes a bus's size and shape makes it difficult to judge this distance. To discover the reference points on your vehicle, your trainer will set up an orange cone at the rear of your bus. Note, the base of the cone should be 12 inches away from the rear of the bumper and 6 inches from the side of the bumper. You may identify the reference point on either the passenger or the operator's side. Your trainer will make a line from the outside mirror to the base of the cone with string or measuring tape. Look into the mirror. Your backing reference point is the spot on the bus that's parallel to the base of the cone. Remember that spot. Can you identify the correct reference point? Let's find out. We've moved the cone about 20 feet away and marked the reference point with this piece of tape. Now, using only the mirror as a guide, this driver will back the bus until the base of the cone is parallel to the tape. As you can see, the reference point allowed him to stop the bus 12 inches from the cone. Now remember, the base of the cone is for demonstration purposes. The reference point is exactly the same for the base of a curb. Keep in mind that reference points are different for different buses. Be sure you know the reference points for the vehicle you'll be driving before you leave the yard. Stop the tape now and discuss reference points. Anytime the bus is put into reverse, the backing lights will automatically come on. So will your backing alarm, if you're driving a bus that has one installed. Many people think backing alarms are annoying, but they're important. They warn anyone behind the bus that you're backing up. Disabling or attempting to disable the backing alarm will result in disciplinary action. Never back up if there's any chance at all that the space behind you might not be clear. That space is your rear safety cushion. Remember, a lot can happen in the safety cushion between the time you arrive at a location and the time you're ready to back up. The area behind your bus, which was clear when you arrived, may now be occupied by a vehicle or a person. Always get out and check to make sure, or use a spotter. Remember, you are responsible for backing. Don't back into traffic if you can help it. If you're a paratransit operator and have to pull into someone's driveway, the recommended procedure is to back into the driveway. Then you can pull forward into traffic. If you accidentally turned on a wrong street, go around the block to get back to your route. In addition, watch for detours and avoid dead ends and narrow cul-de-sacs. Stop the tape now and discuss how to deal with the various backing situations you may encounter. Okay, it's the end of your shift and it's time to park your bus for another day. There are two bus parking procedures Laidlaw operators are required to know: backing into stalls and parallel parking. We'll take a quick look at each. Remember, backing your bus can be pretty tricky, so only back up if it's absolutely necessary. Backing up to a stall is one of these times. We've set up these cones to simulate a parking stall, or they can be used to represent a driveway. When you're backing your bus into a stall, the first thing to do is make sure you have the right stall. Buses that are less than 17 feet long can park in 8-foot wide stalls. Buses 17 foot long or longer require stalls that are 10 feet wide. Once you have the right stall for your bus, line it up parallel to the stall markers about 4 feet away, so the passenger door opens onto the stall. Position the right front axle to the right stall marker. Then, turn the steering wheel hard to the left and drive the vehicle to the limit line. At the limit line, turn the steering wheel hard to the right and back the bus into the stall. If you come close to hitting the left stall marker, start again and line up the right front axle slightly behind the right stall marker. Hitting the right stall marker means the bus needs to be lined up with the axles slightly in front of the stall marker. Once you're correctly aligned, slowly back into the stall, centering the bus by using both rear view mirrors. Stop so that the bumper is past the 1 foot line, but not past the rear barrier. Practice backing several times with your training instructor until you're comfortable and proficient enough to do it on your own, in a bus stall or in a driveway. Stop the tape and discuss backing up to a parking stall. Parallel parking is a little different, so let's take it step by step. Step 1. Position the bus parallel to the curb line about 4 feet away from the end of the parking space, borders, or barriers. Be sure your rear axle lines up with the barrier or border. Step 2. Turn the steering wheel hard to the right and begin backing until the right rear corner of the bus is about 1 foot from the curb. This is a critical position because if you turn the steering wheel too early, you'll hit the front barrier or the vehicle in front of the barrier. If you turn too late, you'll hit the rear barrier or vehicle. It'll require a lot of practice to correctly judge this distance. Use reference points whenever possible. Step 3. Stop the bus. Turn the wheel hard to the left and continue backing in. Stop before you get to the rear barrier. Step 4. Straighten the front wheels and move the bus forward to the center of the parking space. If you did it right, the bus should be centered in the space, no more than 18 inches away from the curb. When you practice parallel parking and the curb is not available, tape or draw a line to represent a curb. Set 2 barriers at right angles to the curb about 8 feet out. This chart shows the Laidlaw standard for spacing practice parallel parking barriers. Now note, if your state requires more than the Laidlaw standard, follow those requirements instead. Stop the tape now and review parallel parking. Safe backing is your responsibility, and it's an important one. Use a spotter to guide you when you have to back up. If you're here in the bus yard, it'll be pretty easy for you to find someone to act as a spotter. If you're out in service, try to find a responsible adult. Back slowly, paying attention to your spotter and your mirrors. Remember, a spotter will only be as useful as the instructions you give him. Use the following procedures. 1. Tie your spotter where you intend to back up in the direction you want to go after you back up. This will minimize confusion. 2. Have your spotter stand behind and to the side of the bus where you're backing at a safe distance away. Use hand signals you've agreed upon ahead of time, especially the one for stop. And never let your spotter out of your sight. If you can't see them, stop immediately. Always maintain eye contact with your spotter, either directly or through your mirrors. Make sure your spotter knows never to switch from one side to the other. If they do have to switch sides, stop first. Then continue backing when they're correctly positioned. 3. Open your window so you can hear as well as see your spotter. 4. Back slowly so that if anything happens, you can stop. Stop the tape now and review the 4 steps of backing with a spotter. Backing collisions can be prevented. That's why proper backing procedures are so very important. Whether you're a new operator or a seasoned professional, do everything you can to avoid backing up. The safest backing technique is don't. Perform a thorough pre-trip inspection. Be sure your backup lights, alarm, and flashers are working properly. Adjust your mirrors. If there's any problem, report it immediately. Remember, a lot can happen behind your bus between the time you arrive at a location and the time you're ready to back up. If you have to back up, such as in a customer's driveway, it's recommended that you back to park. Then you can pull out safely after you've loaded the passenger. Don't back up without a spotter. It's the only way to be certain the area behind you is clear. If you ever have any doubts about the area behind the bus, get out and check for yourself. If you're in service, use a responsible adult to guide you. Have your backer stand behind the bus at a safe distance away toward the side you're backing. Use hand signals you've agreed upon ahead of time, especially the one for stop. And finally, take your time when you're parking the bus and use your reference points. Remember, it's better to start all over than to try and correct too shallow or too sharp an approach. Thank you for your attention to this important topic. Your commitment to professionalism and safety is important to Laidlaw Transit.